Good afternoon. Another beautiful day here at Friends Homes. Hope you've been out to enjoy the weather. Before we begin, I think I just want to, I'm sure on all of our minds is the stuff going on in Western Carolina, and it's just awful. So as we have our moment of silence, I invite you to just consider that and the people going through what's kind of unspeakable. Thank you. All right, before we start with our normal business, had a special request, and Brad Jenkins is going to talk to you about the nominating committee.
We just concluded the second meeting of the nominating committee of the Residents Association, and one of the tasks that we're charged with is to inform all of you residents, that the election for officers on the residents board, which is an 8-member board that actually transacts most of the business of the association, meets at least once every month. Those elections will be coming up, and we want as many of you as possible to volunteer to be members of that board. They are 2-year terms, so there will be 4 vacancies. They're staggered, so that every year we elect 4 new members, and we elect or re-elect the officers each year at the General Association meeting in January. So those 4 positions on the board will be open. The only requirement is that you have to be a resident at least 1 year before you volunteer for that board. And this is a very important group here. The Residents Association, for those of you who are new and don't know about it, is really, and let me just read from our Constitution, it is empowered by the laws of North Carolina. Each continuing care association must have such an association. And our purpose is to provide a governance structure to identify and address the common needs of residents. The association is the representative voice of residents and works with the administration in a cooperative partnership to sustain an environment which fosters independence, security, and well-being among residents. So I hope that all of you who have been here at least a year will consider taking a position on that board. And if you're willing to stand to the nomination, just contact me. I live on the 6th floor of Woolman here, and I'm in the directory. You can call me, use my email. And also we will be posting notices on the floor of each building, announcing that we are seeking people to fill those positions. So I hope you will volunteer, and you can get the details from these notices. They'll take about a week to get up on each floor. And we would like for that to be done, if you're thinking about it, by October the 15th. That is our deadline to begin moving ahead with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. We always look forward to working closely with the Resident Association. So, all right, we will. Sorry, I didn't listen to my instructions. I got to turn this on. So a fairly short agenda, but a lot of meaty subjects at the end that Jordan will address. So we will defer some of our normal items to allow more time for that presentation at the end. And so for my update, greetings from Disney World. You'll notice of the two associate executive directors who's working harder. Just saying. But no, I thought that was really good. Matt donned the purple Bright Spire Olympic shirt in support. And let me just thank all of the participants that participated in the Bright Spire Olympics, and I think we made a really good showing. I did hear a rumor that we had a second place in bocce ball from. And these are a couple that I don't think had played bocce ball before. One of us, yeah. So that's great. Thank you for doing that. That's a really good event. I think closing ceremonies are tomorrow at Glen Air. We'll be taking a vehicle there. So, with that, before Whitney comes up, just one other announcement. This is every 6 months we committed to you to remind you that you need to update your file of life. If it's not updated, anybody in this room not know what the file of life is? Okay, thank you for being honest. So the file of life is a document that stays in your red, kind of very small folder. Emergency personnel use that. It's a standard throughout Guilford County, so emergency personnel know your critical information at the time of an emergency. So important that you keep that updated. If you need a blank form, see Kelly Hodges, and she will take care of that for you. So again, just a reminder, take the opportunity to review your information, make sure nothing has changed. If it has, make sure it gets updated. Okay? All right, and with that, Whitney will give you a life enrichment update. Yes, the question, Art. Do people in AL have to do a file of life? No. Right?
All right, good afternoon. My name is Whitney Ariza. I'm your Director of Campus Life, and I'm happy to share a few updates with you from our department today. The first and very important one is we're having a chili cook-off and pumpkin decorating contest October 18th from 1:30 to 2:30 right here in the Guilford living room. We have staff members competing in the chili cook-off, and we're going to have a panel of judges consisting of 4 residents, and then our executive chef Nick will also be a judge. I think he's very well qualified. So they'll be deciding who the winner is. We're also going to have some chili provided by the dining team, a white chili and a red chili, so you can come in and sample those too. And then we're going to have a pumpkin decorating contest. It'll be set up around the room, and we're hoping that you will vote on all of the pumpkins. If you're interested in decorating a pumpkin, either as an individual or as a group, maybe there's a hall that wants to get together and do one, or a book club, we would love to have you participate. Just make sure you've got your pumpkin here by 10 a.m. on October 18th. There's going to be some prizes for those. But that'll be a lot of fun, and it should be a lot of good commentary as we're sampling the chilies. Another big event that we've got going on at the end of October, on the 26th from 3 to 5, is our Spooky Spectacular. This is a trunk or treat event, and it's open to residents and your guests, your families, as well as staff and their families. And a trunk or treat, for the past several years, or well, a lot of years, trick-or-treating, you think about going door to door to everybody's house. But now these trunk-or-treat events bring all the trick-or-treating to one spot. So people come and park, and they open their trunks, and kids go around with their baskets and trick-or-treat at the cars. And also, if you don't have a trunk and you'd rather decorate a table, we'd be happy to have you. We're looking for volunteers who want to participate as a trunk or table for children to come to trunk or treat at. We're also asking if you happen to be at the store and you see some individually wrapped candy that you would like to donate. We're accepting donations at the front desk. Sherry's collecting those. And so we hope that you'll come out on that day at the Wellness Center and bring your friends and family with you. We've been doing a lid collection for the past year in partnership with the Boy Scouts, where they've been taking the lids and melting them down and making lawn furniture. And we've been thankful for all of your donations. I know the Boy Scouts have been too. That program is coming to an end on October 31st. So if you have a stash of lids you've been waiting to donate, go ahead and get those turned in. October 31st will be the last day that we're going to accept those. This is a separate program from the prescription bottles that we collect. That program will still be going on.
Where do we take them?
The prescription bottles?
No, the other ones.
The lids, well, it's the same for both. Down on the first floor of Woolman, if you're looking at the elevators in Woolman, the double elevators, to the left is a laundry room.
Okay.
And in that laundry room is the collection space.
They moved ours.
Yeah, they were right in the hallway. We've got a sign out that kind of points you down the hall, but we've got a nice cabinet there and they're all tucked in there. We're doing a Friendsgiving event with Guilford College again this year, and we're looking for residents who may be interested in having a meal with a student. I don't anticipate we're going to have a ton of students. Many of them go home for the break, but there are some students who stay on campus, particularly international students. So if you're willing to have a meal with a student from Guilford College, if you would reach out to me, I'm going to compile a list of residents. So if we get some interest from students, we'll be able to partner you with a student for a meal. We've got a trip on October 17th. We're going to Chateau Morissette Winery. It's off of the Blue Ridge Parkway. We're doing a winery tour and tasting, and then we'll have a 3-course meal following that. I did just talk to them today. They are open. They were out of the line of, they were out of the line of the big storm that just affected Western North Carolina so badly. So we are still going to be able to go to Chateau Morissette to do a leaf peek. If you were signed up for the trip to Asheville, you have gotten notification that that trip was canceled. Our neighbors in Western North Carolina are going through some heartbreaking times right now. We have a new program here over at Guilford. Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 3:30 in the Fox Concourse, gather at Guilford. This is a time to come and bring your own beverage and a shareable appetizer, although that is optional. If you don't want to bring an appetizer, don't let that keep you from coming. But it's just a time to get together with friends, meet new people, see old friends, and share a drink and an appetizer together before dinner. So every Tuesday, 3:30. And then October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So similar to what we did back in the spring with the Parkinson's disease awareness, where we did a step challenge, we're going to do that for breast cancer awareness. October 11th at from 7:30 to 4:30. We'd love for you to wear pink and visit the fitness center and get your steps in on the new step, or if you walk outside, do a fitness class, use another piece of equipment, all of those steps count. So we're trying to do to get as many steps as we can. And then along the same lines, on Friday, October 11th at 2 o'clock in the West Living Room, we'll have an Encompass Well Talk. Christine Brannick, she's the Oncology Community Outreach Manager at Cone. She'll be coming and talking about breast cancer prevention, treatment, early detection. So that should be a good presentation for the Well Talk. One other quick little thing I'll mention. In the connection, you probably read that there is a football game, Clemson versus Wake Forest, and it said time to be determined because we were waiting on that to finalize. It's going to be at 12 p.m. So if you're interested in going to that game, the bus leaves at 10:30. All of that information has been updated on Icon, which we used to call CareMerge. It's all located there, as well as the sign-up book. And of course, Mary Wallace has all the details too, so you can reach out to her if you're interested in going to see a football game. We have some great seats. You won't have to go up a lot of steps to get to them, so we hope you'll come in and enjoy the football game with us. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jordan.
Thank you, Whitney. And thank you all for being here today. I'm so encouraged by your presence here. It means a lot to us when we do these presentations, and you'll come to them. I'm going to talk to you today. It's a little bit different compared to months past. We're going to go over the upcoming budget for the remainder of this year and then next year, of course. And so there's a lot of information here. I hope that you find it helpful. And of course, we always set aside time at the end to answer all your questions that you might have. There we go. A little bit of delay. So I just want to start with, whenever we go into our budget season, as I call it, which is actually around April and May, I always remind myself, I always take time to remind myself of what some of our goals are throughout this process. I try to put myself in your shoes as residents. I try to be very mindful of the situation that our folks are in. And I remind myself that we have fixed incomes here. We have care needs. We have the needs of the employees. And I always focus on these areas. As a management team, we are called to be good stewards of the resources that are available to us. And these are your resources, really. They come from you. And I try to remind myself of the need to remain affordable for all. That's in our mission statement, actually. One of our guiding principles is to be an affordable community, which is accessible to all folks. Safety and security. I have to believe that you all moved here. One of the reasons why was for safety and the feeling of security. And then sustainability, right? We want to make sure that we create programs that last. We want to make sure that we enhance our community in a sustainable way, and that the products that we use wherever we can, that we are utilizing sustainable practices. And the things that we do, they don't just fizzle out, but they last for a long time, and our residents appreciate them for a long time. Ultimately, what I hope and I pray for and I work towards, and we all do this, is that we're trying to create a sense of value. We want you to have a feeling of value, to have peace of mind, and to feel good about the decision that you made to move to Friends Homes. And I think this is true every year, that we face challenges. And just a reminder that Friends Homes is not immune to what's happening in the outside world, right? We face headwinds as a community every single year. And this is just a reminder of what we do face as we create our budgets, right? We're facing inflation in food, in supplies, utilities, insurance. It takes a weekend like this weekend to remember that, right? The inflation in insurance alone. Keeping in mind that insurance rates will not just go up in Asheville, which was hit the hardest. It'll go up everywhere. We will bear the burden. We will share the burden of insurance throughout the nation to cover the costs of what occurred in Florida and in Western Carolina. And then, of course, labor. We continue to face labor challenges. The market right now, the labor market is shallow. It's a low unemployment rate, not only across the nation, but here in Greensboro. And I would say Greensboro is the most applicable source for information. Our unemployment is at 5.4% right here. And so that's something that we need to be aware of. And so there's a need for recruiting efforts to be increased, of course, for training. We always look at our benefits every single year. I was just speaking with Elizabeth today in our weekly meeting, and she's actually working with our insurance company to seek out some more affordable options for some very specific scenarios. We're always looking for ways to keep healthcare and benefits accessible, but also affordable, and to keep the costs down. In our labor market, year over year, the expectations increase. Gone are the days of working 20, 30, sometimes 40 years for an organization, and then at the end of that, there's a pension waiting for you. That doesn't exist anymore. And our workforce is increasingly transient. They'll leave us for 50 cents if it makes sense for them to do so. And so we have to look at these areas and we have to ask ourselves, what can we do to care for our staff, to create the right environment, to nurture them and help them grow from within? And we try to develop programs that will help us to do that. And then there's just general expectations, right? There's an expectation that we will reinvest in Friends Homes to keep it a nice, beautiful, well-run community. And that will create programs and services, again, that are sustainable and appealing, not only to the folks that live here now, but to the resident of the future. Because we do need folks to keep on moving in, right? So we have to be an appealing and enticing, attractive community for everyone, including our staff. And we have rising expectations from both groups. Every single year, we have to move the needle forward. Ultimately, all of our stakeholders, whether it's our residents or our staff, or even their families, are looking for value, improved value. And so we consider all of these factors as we create the budget. Now, I'm a data person. I love facts and figures. So I went to the Department of Labor to see where we stand today. And so I'm just going to share a few items with you. Number one, soft services wages are expected to increase 4%. So soft services wages, that means janitors, landscapers, security staff, clerical staff, support staff. And we have a lot of those at Friends Homes, wouldn't you agree? So we're expecting an increase of about 4% nationally. So in some areas less, in some areas more. I think we will bear every bit of this here in Greensboro. Hard services wages will increase 5.3%. So these are technicians, maintenance workers, building workers, support staff. And wages and salaries in the food services sector are expected to increase about 3.6%. This is servers, utility workers, cooks. General wages for the food service industry are also going up. As I mentioned, the unemployment rate in our area is 5.4%. A $10 item in 2019 today costs almost $13. And a $10 wage for the same job today is over $13. And I told the story at West when I first entered the professional workforce at the age of 23, running a little assisted living memory care community. Our servers were making about $7.25, $7.50, and that was considered a good wage. And now a server entry level, coming to Friends Homes for the first time, are high schoolers, right? Unskilled, you would say an unskilled laborer, they're making in the 14 range, 13.50 to 14 range, and that's on day one, right? So things have changed over the years, and I always say that, we have to keep that in mind, that Friends Homes experience is the same thing that your kids are experiencing, your family, and your businesses that perhaps you still work for or worked for in the past. Costs are going up. So I'm going to start with our 2025 budget with census, and because census drives just about everything in our community. And you know this because we've talked about this month after month in the town hall meetings. I always start with census. And you can see, we pushed census in our budget in 2025. And that's because we've been successful over the last year. And we've seen our census here at Guilford go up over the last year. And we think we'll be able to maintain that in the future year. And I believe that because today, as we sit here today, our census is actually higher than this. And that's a good thing. We tried to be conservative. I think we're going to surpass this throughout the year. That's only a benefit to everyone. Friends Homes West has been highly occupied all year long. We've been very successful moving people in. We didn't touch the census there. The 5% vacancy represents the time it takes to renovate an apartment. We're putting more into these units now. It takes longer to renovate them, and we have a lot of projects currently underway. And so we felt like we couldn't push it anymore. And you'll see the averages are very similar in our assisted living and our skilled nursing at both venues. We go up a little bit in some areas, we go down a little bit, but we base these numbers off of our historical averages. So basically, we're basing these off of the amount of move-ins, move-outs, and current occupancy that we've had throughout the year, on average. I personally prefer to be more conservative with these numbers than shoot for the sky. I think it's the right way to go when we're creating our budget. So we'll get into the numbers now. And you'll see in blue, our 2024 operating budget is represented in each of the different categories. And in green, you see our 2025 budget. And they almost move up and down parallel in each category, right? So we will have a slight increase in revenue year over year, and that's because we will be raising the monthly service fees. But the same thing happens with our operating expenses. Our expenses go up because we know that all of our operating expenses within the community will be going up. There isn't one category where we say, gosh, this is great. Costs are going down. It's just not the way things work. Now, we seek efficiency, and we make decisions, and we might change the services that we provide in different areas to reduce our overall expenses. But generally, labor costs are going up, insurance, taxes, utility, food, and supplies. They all go up, right? And we've all seen that at the grocery store. Makes sense, doesn't it? So, as a result, our gain from operations remains flat year over year. I think it's a difference of about $11,000. It's not much. Our net operating expenses increase a little bit, and that's because we are depreciating some very large items. So depreciation means that we pay for the asset over the length of useful life. I'm going to give you an example. We are undergoing an elevator project at West. We're replacing every elevator at West. They are well past their useful life. That's a $1.2 million project. And so that's why, and that's a new project, and that's why our operating expenses are a little bit larger, because we're spreading out that cost over the coming years. And our change in assets, there's a little bit of an increase because we're expecting an increase in entry fees over the coming year. And we will amortize those, we'll spread those out as well, but there will still be a greater increase. We're expecting about 47 move-ins over the year. We also have incurred we've benefited from a strong market in our investments. So dividend income is represented there. We don't depend on that because we haven't realized it. You don't realize it until you cash it out, and we're not cashing out any investments. That's set aside for the rainy day fund. I want to highlight some really positive aspects of our budget. Number one, we've set aside $4.7 million to be reinvested in the buildings, to be reinvested in our programs. So a big chunk of this, at least $1.5 million, is just for unit renovations alone. So prior to somebody moving in, there's a vacant apartment, we refresh that apartment, we renovate it, new flooring, paint, things like that. We spent about that much last year. We think we'll spend a little bit more this year. So we earmarked that money for that. And then there's a number of other projects that we are planning to complete in the coming year, just like we did last year. So we've set aside almost $4.8 million for that. This is a large number. This is a very good number. We should be proud of this number because we are taking the steps to sustain the community through upgrades, refreshes, reinvestment, to keep this community running how it should be run. Entrance fee receipts. Those are the proceeds from an entrance fee, from somebody moving in. We're expecting over $6 million in entrance fee proceeds. 47 units are expected to turn over, and so we will replace every one of those, and potentially more, because we did grow a little bit in our independent living census, and so that's a very good thing that we have planned. budgeted cash flow from operations. So after everything is said and done, after we've paid all of our bills, after we've renovated every unit, after we've done all of our projects, after we've amortized everything, we've depreciated everything, we've done everything accounting-wise in our community, there's a margin of about 200,000 planned. It's very important to have a margin. There was a time in the life of Friends Homes where we had zero margin. And that's a very dangerous place to be. We don't ever want to be with that place, okay? It just takes one weekend, like we saw this weekend, to reinforce that idea. There are communities right now that are wiped out, devastated, and I hope that they have reserves. We are very blessed here at Friends Homes to have reserves, to each year set aside a little bit to go into those reserves for the rainy day fund. I'm so thankful to say that. Our budgeted debt service coverage ratio is 2.0. So this is basically our ability to pay our debt. We can do it 2 times over. Now we're budgeting that. I think that if we do what we did last year, this year, we could probably surpass this. We can do a little bit better, which would be a great thing. This is a sign of strength. And then your budgeted days cash on hand. We're planning for 726 days of cash on hand. So, if operations stopped today, think about, again, the analogy of Asheville. Say a tornado rips through this community. We can't take any more folks in. And let's just say we stop collecting revenue. We could continue to fund our operations for 726 days. Okay? You always want to have a good amount set aside, again, to have a cushion for the community. Just like you'd want in your own household if you could, right? You'd want a little bit of a nest egg, and that's what we have. So I want to share with you the rate increase history, the recent rate increase history. In 2022, rates were raised by 4%. In 2023, there was a jump to 7%. Everybody remember that? Yeah. That was tough. That was a tough year for a number of reasons. What happened in that year? What happened? That's not true. COVID happened, but I think we were really starting to see the effects, right? The market changed. There was the Great Resignation. Everybody remember that term, the Great Resignation? Staff were leaving in droves. They said, forget this, I don't need this. I'm not gonna be a waiter or waitress. I'm not gonna be a CNA. I'm gonna go find something else. Then eventually there was the Great Regret, and people did start to return to the workforce. But people were being paid to stay home. And in some cases, it made more sense for them financially to stay home. Right? So we had a very difficult staffing situation, and we had to address it with wages. In 2024, the wage rate, that's this year, the wage rate, the cost of living increase went down a little bit to 5.75%. And in this coming year, our increase goes down again. There is an increase, but it's a 3-year trend downward. Our increase will be 4.5%. Now, I will follow this presentation up with a memo reinforcing this, so you get this in writing. Everybody will get it. But I think that's, it is positive that the trending is going down. We would love for it to be 0. We would love for it to be 3%. But the reality is that our operations require this much. And we're going to continue to talk a little bit about that. Another area that we looked for the upcoming year, and this will be effective January 1st, looked at our ancillary fees. So ancillary fees, they're not recurring to you. Generally, they're one-off type items. One-off, you say, I need this one time. And they're individual. It's not that there's a whole group of people using it at the same time. It's your individual cost. We looked at those fees. They haven't changed in years in many cases, and so there's a few areas where we made some changes. This will also be in the letter, so don't worry. I will give this all to you in writing. But we did change some of the rates. One of the areas we did change is the guest suites. We did adjust conduct some really nice renovations. Utilization is up. And so we made an adjustment of about 15 bucks to the daily rate for that. Meals are still included. You'll still have a good experience. In some areas, we just adjusted 50 cents to make it a round number. Charging $19.50 versus $20. It's just to clean up the number. Some of the hourly rates changed a little bit. They get us closer to what the actual cost is for the staff who are involved, but we're still not even covering the cost of the staff for your individual request. So what are our goals? I want you to know what we as a management team continue to focus on. And I realize we're not perfect and there's a lot of work to be done. There always will be. But I also want you to realize that this is what we're pushing for from a management perspective. This is what we're talking to our staff about. This is what I talk to our management team about, and our managers filter down to our frontline staff. Number one, responsiveness. Being responsive towards our staff. When you need help, we show up. We communicate. We meet your need. Visibility. We want to be seen. We want to be amongst you. We want you to know that we exist and that we care and that we're accessible to you when you need us. And that we're aware of what's happening in the community, that we have our finger on the pulse, that there's no surprises throughout the community and amongst the staff and amongst the residents. Timeliness. Responding in a reasonable amount of time. Delivering your meal in a reasonable amount of time. Completing your maintenance request in a reasonable amount of time. I can be honest, I can say that that was not always the case in the past. I've heard about it for the last year. But I think, and I've heard from you, that there's been improvement. And I hope that you would agree overall that there has been improvement because we've been working really hard on it. Consistency. Consistency is probably what I hear about the most these days. Making sure that what you ordered is what shows up, right? I understand, I hear it, I've seen it myself, and it's something that we're talking about a lot. And I can tell you our committees are pushing us on this, and they should. I want you to know that we are aware, we have heard you, and we know that this is a challenge that we're working on. And then quality, overall. We can summarize this in a number of different ways, but ultimately you, the residents, are looking for quality. You want a sense of quality, and that goes down to value. This is what our employees are pushing for, this is what our residents are pushing for, and every once in a while we get a call from a family member, they're expecting the same. We recognize that. So we do want to invest in our employees. We plan to invest in our employees. If we don't have happy employees, we don't have much, right? We want to take care of the people that take care of you. So I do want you to know that we did conduct a wage survey in the outside community. And that's part of our wage philosophy. We always want to make sure that our wages are competitive. And so we reach out to other service providers. We reach out to other communities like this, and we survey what their wages are. We look at the hospitals, we look at competitors, and we look at sister communities to make sure that our wages are where they need to be for us to continue to be competitive in the market. And what we found is that we needed to adjust wages in very specific positions. In some positions, we were doing just fine. So dining servers, cooks, utility workers, housekeepers, our RNs, our LPNs, and our CNAs. In many cases, we'll receive some form of adjustment to get them to the rates that we determine are appropriate. These are, I believe in almost every case, our lowest wage earners that are being affected the most. Not only by this increase, but by inflation. And you just have to take one trip to the gas pump, one trip to the supermarket to see it. A six-pack of eggs right now can cost anywhere from about $8? Depending on what type of eggs you buy. You could get the dirt cheap ones for $6, maybe. But, if you can spend up to 10, depending on where you shop. I hear a lot of comments here, but I go all the time, I see it with my own eyes. And as an employee has to work for a half hour, literally work for a half hour to pay for that carton of eggs. That means something. So we are addressing some of those wages with our staff. And we're exploring innovative partnerships that help our staff. So we will always lose the wage arms race with entities like hospitals and things like that. So we have to look at other ways that we can help our staff, right? The environment that we create. We are providing financial literacy courses to our staff so folks can learn how to budget, how to save, how to invest, and be good stewards of their household finances. We're searching for new ways to provide medical benefits at a less expensive rate. Good quality benefits, but at a more reasonable rate. We were so proud that the residents partnered with us. A resident of Guilford, in fact, partnered with the staff and helped to provide scholarships to 4 wonderful employees. We awarded those scholarships this summer. And we hope to continue that and show our employees that there is a path to grow from within, to get education, all while working at Friends Homes. And we're also investing in a routine satisfaction survey. Every quarter, we'll be surveying our employees to continue to keep our finger on the pulse, to know what's going on in the ranks, to adjust where we need to adjust and respond, and hopefully keep folks as happy as possible. Additionally, we plan to invest in our community. And we mentioned the CapEx projects. These are some specific examples. Now these can change if there's a need to change, but generally I feel pretty good about these. Number 1, we're purchasing automatic defibrillators for all of our dining rooms and all of our care venues. So if somebody was to go into cardiac arrest, we'll be able to respond, once they're here, of course, in a more effective way. This is something that our Health and Wellness Committee brought to our attention, and they said, guys, we need this. We heard you, and we have set aside a budget for it, and we will be rolling that out. I believe it'll be about 13 of them throughout the community, strategically placed in wellness areas, and in dining areas, and in care venues. This is a very good thing, and a very tangible example of a request from the residents and a response from staff. We're updating the AV equipment at West, and if you've been to West and you've experienced the challenges that they have there, you will understand why we did this. We have a much more stable AV system here, but we did set aside money for West to get that fixed. We are installing grab bars in all of the independent living apartments where there aren't grab bars and residents want them. This is something we heard very loud and clear from folks. And we acknowledge that this probably should have been done a long time ago, but we did it the right way this year in hearing from the residents, setting aside a budget, auditing the community to understand how much need there is, and there'll be a memo coming out explaining the process for how you can get those grab bars. Furthermore, we're going to reimburse folks who moved in around the time of expansion and paid for grab bars to be installed. We're going to take steps to reimburse them. And we really want to do the right thing with this. So going forward, just so you know, as we renovate apartments, we're also putting them in. We have been all year. But I think this kind of brings the matter to a close in the right way. And I think the only way that would be acceptable. So we want you to know we did the right thing there. We're in the process of doing the right thing. I see this project as a marathon more than a sprint, because to keep costs down, we're going to self-manage the project. We're going to have our own staff doing it. So the memo will explain the process, but we're on the path towards getting this done. And I want to thank the residents who brought this to our attention and were also patient with us and gave us the grace and patience that we needed to do this project and to fund it. We're going to replace some furniture in Whittier in the units. And if you've been to Whittier and you've seen some of that furniture, I suspect that you would support that decision. It's time. And so we've specified headboards, footboards, flat screen TVs, end tables, and recliners, beautiful, cleanable electric recliners, and a guest chair for a select amount of units. You know, there's 2 skilled nursing facilities, there's 2 assisted living facilities. We want to share some of that amongst them all, but for now, Whittier is the main focus. And so we do just a little bit of an injection of freshness into that space, I think is a good thing. And we're going to refresh the Ruth dining room. We're going to give it a little bit of a facelift. We're not going to flip the whole place upside down. We can't change the kitchen. I don't think that's a good stewardship of your funds, because we are master planning and we think that master planning will touch the Ruth dining room in the future. But we can fix it up a little bit. We can look at the walls, we can look at the carpet, the chairs, the tables, and we can give it a facelift. We can try to make it a little bit quieter too. We're going to try. I don't think we're not going to solve all the noise issues, but I think we can take some steps to improve the situation. We're gonna try. And we're gonna finalize the cable TV plans. I will tell you today, and I share this with Wes, if you currently are utilizing Spectrum for your cable, and that's a lot of you here, if you're currently using Spectrum, you will continue to use Spectrum. There will not be a change. And let me tell you, negotiating with Spectrum is akin to going to the dentist and getting a root canal. I don't know what I would prefer. It has been a journey, and I'm glad that I lost my hair long ago, because it would have been gone. But yes, we have refreshed our contract with them. You will receive essentially the same service, but we do believe that you will actually get more channels. We do have a channel lineup that we had to battle to get from them, but we did receive it. I will include that in the memo to you. Now, that does not address the Ridgecrest homes. We are this close. I want to tell you what we're doing so bad, but I won't until the ink is dry on our agreement. It's not my style. I don't want to get into this, speculation. I want to make sure that when the ink is dry, I can go to you and say, this is the plan, and this is how we're going to roll out the solution. But we are oh so close. So close, in fact, that there's an email in my inbox that I received this morning, kind of mapping out some things. So I'm hoping that we can get you something within the month. When that happens, you will get communication, and I think you will be pleased. I do think you'll be pleased. And look at that last bullet point. A 12-passenger electric bus has been purchased. I've already signed the purchase agreement. It is electric, therefore sustainable. But the main issue for this one is it's easy to get into. It's a lower profile step, and there's a running board that makes it a lot easier to get into. It comes with a ramp, so you can take a walker or a wheelchair right onto it. And so we don't have to deal with these big, huge steps where you practically have to crawl into the bus to get in. You all know what I'm talking about? And you don't have to worry about an electric ramp where you're put on display as you're lifted up, and it's a little terrifying, I think. This will be totally different. So I want to share with you a picture. Now, this will be here in December, around December. It's being manufactured in the USA, which I really like. It's actually manufactured in Jacksonville, Florida. I offered to fly down there, but they said no. This is it. Isn't that neat? Now, it has windows. It can be open air in good weather times, but it can be enclosed, and it's climate controlled. So it comes with an air conditioner, and it comes with a heater. And it has windshield wipers. It will arrive not street legal, but we will make it street legal because we will register it with a VIN number, and then we will insure it. So, it's a little bit of a journey. It's being built. We'll have Friends Homes branding on it. You can see. We did some research, We spoke to the manufacturer, we received all kinds of specifications, and we said, that's great. but where can we actually see one? We want to see it, we want to drive in it, we want to hear from the staff that are using it. Just so happens that there's a community in Raleigh that purchased one. And so we reached out to them, they said, come on down. And we spent the morning driving with them, talking to them. What do you like? What do you not like? They had nothing bad to say about this. The only thing that they did is they didn't purchase air conditioning. And they said, we wish we would have done that. And we've actually paid to have it installed. So they were getting it installed. And so one of the questions we also said was, you know, if you could do anything differently, what would you do? They said, well, we would get a running boards that came out a little bit more. So it was a little bit safer. And then they added a few things that we're gonna do as well. I added a nice spotlight at the top. We got the upgraded batteries, the sealed lithium-ion batteries that last longer and don't require the maintenance. So that's a benefit to the staff, I think. But there's, you know, we want this thing to last a long time. So we've purchased one, and we're gonna see how it goes. You know, and who knows what the future holds for our other buses. I don't know, but this will be a good test. One of the reasons why we purchased this bus is because we have been master planning. We've been meeting with residents. I believe it's 6 residents from each neighborhood, West and Guilford. One of the things they said many times was, you know, we don't look at this as much as one community because it's so hard to travel between the 2 sites. You know, it's a challenge to get onto that bus. And if you could find a way to make this easier, I think it would bring the community together more. We said, you know, that makes a lot of sense. And that's what really kicked off this journey. So I hope you all enjoy it. It's a test, we don't know. But I think it's a step in the right direction, and I hope that you'll agree. There's the ramp, it's up. But you see it comes down and you can just hopefully get right on. No electronics, it's manual. Our staff will help. And you can see how it's open on both sides. There's also a seat back here. And if you're lucky enough, you can sit right next to the driver. You have to claim that spot. So, I often, you know, our days are busy, full of projects, full of things. And just, you know, often, I would say every once in a while, I just take a moment to return to our mission statement. And if you haven't done that lately, or if you're wondering what our mission statement is, it's right here. But I think it's meaningful time for me to remind myself of what the Friends Home's mission is. I take it very seriously. We're guided by Quaker values, first and foremost, in everything we do. We offer a life plan community that encourages a sense of wholeness, wellness, purpose, and security at a fair cost, so that each resident may live a fulfilling life. It's very important to me, it's very important to our staff, I hope it's important to you, I suspect it is. We believe that the 2025 budget allows us to achieve the mission of Friends Homes, not only for our residents, but for our staff. We are thankful for the residents, we're thankful for you, and for the staff who contribute daily to the success of our community. I believe, we believe, and I hope you believe, that the future is bright, and we look forward to a successful year together. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
You missed the salon refresh point.
Well, thank you, Claire. I was holding off. Thanks a lot, Claire. It's been a little strategic, but that strategy just blew up. No, we did set aside some money for a salon refresh. We have 2 salons, so we're looking at that too. You know, does that make sense? But we want to make sure that we're providing a good service there. I know that that is a pain point, just in general, from a staffing standpoint, from a charging standpoint, from an environmental standpoint. There's work to be done. This is something that Steve is working on routinely. He's established a relationship with the leadership of the team that's managing that process, but we're going to be looking at that over the year. We do have some money set aside to fix it up a little bit, so thank you. Yes, that was not the complete list of projects. That was only a sampling of things that we'll be doing in the coming year. I usually hesitate to, I will not share all the projects. And the reason why is sometimes things pop up. You know, if we lose a chilling tower, then we have to use money for that to replace it. That's a non-negotiable. So sometimes the projects, you know, it's fluid. But you're right, there's money there. What other comments or questions might you have? One second.
You mentioned auto defibrillators in public places. Will there be a protocol so that you will know if the person affected has a DNR?
No, that's impossible unless it's on them. There's a Good Samaritan assumption. If they're on the ground and they're in cardiac arrest and we don't have the yellow DNR document with them, we will proceed with CPR.
Okay, but this is the document that's supposed to be on our refrigerator.
Exactly.
Should we end up getting a couple or 3 or 4 documents?
You can do that, but the chances of us searching your body to find it are slim. Honestly, that wasn't a joke. That was, you know, you have a precious few minutes, and unless you want to prominently display it, it's the same as if you were outside of friends' homes. You know, it's the same process. So it's a Good Samaritan assumption. It's generally accepted, and that rule applies. And we think it's better than the alternative.
You indicated that, of course, we want to continue to add new residents. So I went on the newcontour.org site this morning to see what Friends Homes had there, and there was nothing. There was no location map indicating Friends Homes' presence. There was nothing. I put in Friends Homes search. There was nothing about Friends Homes. So if people go on that website to find out about us, there's nothing there. So are we going to get some additional information about us?
That's a great observation. I think it is important to understand that we are not a Kentura community. We are managed by Kentura, but we stand on our own. So we are Friends Homes and Friends Homes alone. Yes, there's an affiliation through our management agreement. And so I think that what you are sharing with us is worth bringing up. I suspect there was thought that was put into that. You know, Kentura communities are Kentura communities, Friends Homes is Friends Homes. We simply, you know, the board of directors for Friends Homes has hired Friends Homes, has hired Kentura to manage our community.
I was just curious, how many cardiac events have we had in the last 12 months that would be in public areas, not in private residence?
Well, the idea behind them being in public areas is that they're accessible, just regardless of where the event occurs. Also, part of that is our first responders will carry one as well. So the folks who respond to emergencies will have it with them. So in addition to if it's in the dining room or in the fitness center, I don't have the number of cardiac events.
I was just curious as to how many we've had.
You know, I don't know the answer to that.
So none that we know about.
I would not say that. I would say that I personally am not aware of the cardiac events. I suspect we've had cardiac events, John, in this community. I think we could all agree there's been a cardiac event over the last year here. But again, this is something we've heard loud and clear from the resident committees. It's something that they wanted. Admittedly, I think we've heard more from West, but if we're gonna do it at West, we're gonna do it here. And how could I justify putting them there and not putting them here? Like, what do you mean they're not at Guilford? Why are they, you know? So we made that decision. And it's a good faith decision. I hope you appreciate it. I understand if you don't.
I think you need to do something about changing how we are charged for extra services, or we're not charged. I know personally of 3 different times where we used extra services, like trips to and from the airport, renting a cot for someone to stay in our apartment, we've never been charged for it. And,
Which apartment are you in? Which services, what day?
well, but if you're going to publish this list of charges, I wanna know, what am I gonna have left at the end of the month?
Sure. Well, this list actually is published. It is available. It was just refreshed. I hear what you're saying. You're right. And, you know, I'm big on fairness, you know, fair application of the law, right? So you're right. We should be charging. This is considered a fee-for-service community. There's some communities where it's all-inclusive. You know, you want it, you get it, you know, and the rates are higher, but the rates here are at a point where you do pay for your own individual wants and needs and requests. So thank you for that. You are correct. We do need to do a better job of that.
I mean, we're trying to use our money. We don't wanna just leave it sitting on the table.
No, that falls on the staff, that falls on management and the systems that are in place to track the services that are utilized. You're 100% right. Thank you for your honesty.
When you get the defibrillators, who's gonna be using them?
The staff, and I wanna make that very clear.
Okay.
Very clear, because there's training associated with it. We are not looking for resident volunteers. And I think everybody can get behind that and understands. If not, we can talk about it.
Since Bright Spire has a contract with us as well as a few other facilities, is there financial information sharing? I think some of the people on Bright Spire are actually doing a lot of financial planning for River Landing and for Well Springs and for the facility in Burlington.
Well, Bright Spire owns those communities. And yes, they have their own board of directors, and there's full disclosure not only of their communities, but of this community. Every year, there's a disclosure that's available to folks, and it comes out, I think, around February or so. So there's no problem with sharing financials with them. We also have, our own board of directors and a finance committee through the board of directors. Yeah, that's
My
not a problem.
question from that is, how competitive are we with those other facilities at this point? Do we stand in really good shape?
When you say competitive, what are you referring to?
Yes. How financially competitive are we with the other facilities that Bright Spire is?
I guess when you say financially competitive, do you mean in how we manage our budget? Do you mean in how we charge outside folks wanting to, like what our fees are? Do you mean how we manage our expenses? Do you mean there's a number of nuances to financially competitive, and I just need to know.
Are we as strong as the other facilities overall, based on our assets?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not aware of the Wellspring, I'm not aware of the finances at the other communities. The closest I am is River Landing, and I know that they're very well funded, they have very good reserves, but I couldn't tell you much more than that without looking for myself. I don't want to misspeak, but I know that they're all in good shape. They're all in good shape. How we compare to them, I don't know.
Okay. Can you say, do we have a nice waiting list at this point for this facility?
Yeah, we have two different types of lists. We have a resident of the future list, and that list is about 700 people long. And those are folks who say, I like Friends Homes, and at some point in the future, I would like to move in. I'm sure that there's varying degrees and definition of interest in that, right? And some people would like to move in next week, and some people don't plan to move in for 10 years. So that list is 700 and more or more long. But we also have a very dedicated list of residents. We call them, I think we need to come up with a better term, but the ready list. There's got to be something snappier than that. But really, they are ready to move into Friends Homes. When the unit that they're looking for comes available, they will move in. And that list is intentionally kept smaller because we really want people who are truly serious. They are coming. They put a 10% deposit down on their entrance fee. So that's no small sum of money to commit. And we actually allow them access to the community and to get wrapped into the life here and get to know some folks, because when the unit comes open, they've got days to choose. And so that's I don't know the exact number on that, but it's a good, healthy list of folks as well. So, and we know amongst those 700 residents that are on the Resident of the Future list, we know which ones are serious and have shared their timeline with us of when they want to come. I guess what you have to look at, if you want to consider the health of the communities, you look at our current census, you know, and we're in the low 90s, and we're planning on the low to mid 90%. That's very good. It's a very good sign. The market has responded very well to our expansion. But I'm here to tell you also, we have only a few units available at Guilford. That's the studios, which traditionally have been hard to sell. We've done some nice things there, and so have you, the residents. You have created an atmosphere that is welcoming, that is active, that is engaged, right? I've been in those association meetings, the council meetings, where you're actively looking for ways to welcome folks and wrap them into the community. There's been a lot of growth in this community over the last few years, and we're seeing it, and the proof is in the pudding with the census.
Excuse me, I live in AL, and I have not, over the last couple of years, I have not seen $2 in your budget toward AL. We have been promised that the furniture in AL is original furniture. The chest, the paint is gone off of it. It is broken down. The furniture in the living room is dirty. We have not had any improvements. No money has been spent on AL. And all the goodies are pretty, but we would like to have a little upgrade. We were promised that new furniture would be put in AL. You did do one room a few months ago. But my room in AL right now, it's just like a rainforest. Julian keeps the big buckets to absorb water. It is so bad that even envelopes in the drawers will get enough moisture that it seals them. You leave your clothes in my room. You leave my clothes out, they are damp, even in the drawers.
What is your apartment number?
I'm at age 16.
Okay, we need to talk after this, and we need to look at it.
We were promised, when I moved into AL in age 16, that new furniture would be put in. But there again this year, you have not allowed it $1 for doing anything for AL. And a lot of you people will be in AL one of these days. And I do thank you very much.
Well, before you clap, thank you. Thank you for everything that you said. In many ways, what you said is correct. There's one thing that's not correct in the statement that we have not allowed for $1 in AL. We have set aside a significant amount of money for our care venues, and that can include assisted living. You're right, we did address one unit in assisted living just about a month or two ago. I went into the respite room. Everybody knows what respite is, temporary short-term stay, respite. And I'll be honest with you, I was very disappointed. And so what we did was we pulled money from another project, and we dedicated to refresh that room, put new furniture in it, new window treatments, and make it very nice so if you need a respite stay, you will have a good experience. That room exists today. Our occupancy is pretty high there currently. We have also dedicated a significant amount of funds to the assisted living dining room. So you all dine in the Ruth and you look right over to the assisted living dining room. And I think you see a different experience happening in that space. And that's bothered me for quite some time. And so we have dedicated funds to the assisted living dining room to refresh that space and make sure that you have a very nice dining experience, very similar to the independent living dining experience. And so Carly and her team are actively working on that. And we're talking about the furniture, the walls, and the way that you're served. And we're in the middle of master planning for the community. And one of the first areas that we're looking at is the assisted living, where we have dedicated an immense amount of time, and there's people in this room that are part of the master planning committee, residents that are on that committee. And they can attest, it's not just me saying this, I think they would support it, that our attention has very much been on assisted living, and it will be most likely, I believe very strongly, part of our first phase, which is just around the corner. So I want to honor what you're saying. I want to recognize what you've experienced in the past, but I also want to say that we have dedicated funds and will be, and you will, don't take my word for it, wait for it to happen. So we will see action this year in the assisted living.
When are you going to start recalking the windows that are leaking?
That project is currently underway. In fact, we just received a schematic map of how we'll have to bring in a lift. We have to bring in a lift from by Whittier all the way past the route, the Dogwood Deli, and to the Woolman building. But yeah, we're getting the lift. We're addressing the leaking windows. The project, it's a big project, and our director of maintenance is actively working on that. Additionally, we're addressing the living rooms, which were affected by a lot of the water infiltration as well. So big project, currently underway, funded. It's coming.
The delay in the roof leaking in assisted living, is that where that forensic meteorologist has got to do his work before the insurance company? Is that the biggest delay, or are we delaying it because we're going to do something in the future?
No. We're delaying it because of the insurance audit. So this building incurred a hailstorm at some point, created a lot of damage on the roof, so much so that we felt like we could file an insurance claim. And we do believe they're dragging their feet a little bit. We opened the claim in March. And I sent them a firmly worded letter about 3 weeks ago. They sent me a firmly worded response that said, thank you, we have elevated it to our management. By the way, there's nothing you can do about it. But we will be getting back to you soon, so we're gonna have to take their word for that. We provide a lot of information to them. They did escalate this to, I didn't know this existed, a forensic meteorologist. So they're actually taking a scientific look at our roof to see if they'll cover it. We've replaced tarps a couple times. I think with the comments that were just made, there's probably a little more to the story that we need to look into and find out what's going on, which I want to commit to everybody that we will do that. I see that Steve is nodding his head yes. So I appreciate what was brought up. I'm not proud of that. We will find out what's going on there.